Hey, welcome to the DVB channel. Today let's learn the Union Arena TCG. Now to answer the first question that we have all on top of our head, what is Union Arena? Now to put it simply, Union Arena is a smash brother of card games. If you enjoy watching anime, you most likely will have your favorite anime in a TCG form. What is announced thus far has been nothing but amazing, from series ranging from Code Geass, Bleach, Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Blue Lock, and even Tekken 7. These are the series that has been announced on the first year of Union Arena, and we can only hope to expect more in the future to come. Now without further ado, let's learn more about the game. I believe the most important way to learn the game is to take a look at the field area. Now, we have quite a number of areas to go through, so let's dive in one by one. First up, it is the front line. Okay, so now being the front line is where the most actions in the game do happen, where your favorite characters will take a swing at your opponent's life and even block against your opponent's attacks. Most effects from characters and spells are actually targeting the front line too. You can only have up to 4 max characters in the front line at one time. Do also take note that cards played in this game are always suspended unless stated otherwise. This applies to the next line we should be talking about, and that will be the energy line. So, you can't have a strong front line without actually a good energy line. Energy line is essentially your backbone, the core support for your front line. I'll be touching more about energy line when we discuss more about the cards itself. You can only have up to 4 max cards in the energy line at one time, similar to your front line. Next is the action point area, or what I like to call it, the AP. Now these AP are always what allows you to make an action in the game. Notice how there's only 3 card area for this, and yes, you can only make up to maximum 3 actions per turn. There are cards to enable you to make more, but we will touch them much more later. Each action is super important and they are crucial to making or breaking your game. Moving on to the deck area, now this is pretty straightforward. You place your deck here. Next, it will be the outside area. Now this is essentially what other card game would call the drop zone or the discard pile. Next, we have the remove area. This is the out of play or remove from play area. Cards placed here are not retrievable at this point of the video. Typically, cards you replace on your own account to make space, for example, we move to the remove area rather than the outside area. Lastly, we have the life area. We have a total of 7 slots here, and yes, you play the game with 7 life. Cards checked in your life area will be sent straight to the outside area instead of going to your hand. With that, we have come to better understand the field area, so let's learn about the win conditions of the game. Now there are 2 key win conditions in the game currently. Life hitting 0 automatically wins you the game. There is no need to make an additional attack after a life gets depleted, such as likes of One Piece TCG and Digimon TCG. You instantly lose when the life area hits 0. And player unable to draw during your draw phase also loses the game. Now with us understanding what's the win condition of the game, let's learn what you need to play the game. So obviously you need a deck size of 50 cards. You can only have up to 4 of the same cards, very similar to most other Bandai games. You will also need 3 action point cards. Now there's something to take note, there are cards with different artworks but actually the same cards. An example would be the Gojo card. Okay, they're completely different artworks, one from the starter deck and one from the booster. However, you can only have up to 4 of these combined. Now let's learn how to read the cards. We start off with the character card. Okay, we have energy cost. This is the energy you need to have in your energy line before you can play the card. For example, with this character, we need to have at least 3 energy in the energy line to actually play this card in either the front or the energy line. Next, we have the AP cost. This represents how much playing the card will cost you. As I mentioned previously, you have only maximum 3 AP cards in a turn. It's a crucial resource you have to take into mind when playing the game. At the time of the video, there's only cards that uses 2 AP in a single play. We could expect 3 action points in one turn, or rather in one card in the near future. Next we have name, nothing too much to talk about. However, for trade, this is important as certain cards allows you to search or play certain trade cards only. We also have the card type. Now there are 3 different card types in the game currently, and they are characters, options and field. I'll be going in detail for them later. Next is the effect box. This is where the effects will be stated here. Next, triggers. Not all cards have them, not all cards have the same trigger too. Similarly, I'll be going through what kind of triggers are there in the game later. Next, we have power, also known as VP. Pretty straightforward stuff. Lastly, we have the energy. They are what will be played into your energy line to provide the energy required to further play your cards. Certain cards provide more than just 1 energy. They are identified by the number of balls they show. So moving on, we have the option, effectively the spells in the game. They have pretty much the same things as a character card, but of course they are not going to take a slot in the field. Hence, you can cast an option even though your board is full. Lastly, we have the field spell. They are played only in the energy line as a support card. They cannot belong to the front line. Field spell, however, do take up a slot, so you do have to be careful in your energy management. Now let's talk about triggers. Now previously I mentioned that you can only have up to 4 cards in a deck. There's an additional rule whereby you can only play 4 exclusive triggers per deck as well. These exclusive triggers are Final, Color, and Special. Now these are super strong triggers that could turn the tide of the game and are checked when you receive damage from your opponent's attack. Final triggers allow you to recover 1 by placing the top card of your deck to your life area. Do note that it only activates if it's triggered when you have 0 cards in your life area. Final trigger indeed. Now color trigger is different based on the colors you are playing. As of now there are a total of 5 colors: yellow, blue, purple, green and red. Hence in total we have actually 5 color triggers. Now each of the color has a different effect to represent their colors. Lastly, we have special triggers. They are super strong options and can be better off in your hand at times. However, in the life area, they can retire your opponent's frontline character when checked, similar to clutch cards such as Jet Pistol or Gaia Force. We also have generic triggers. Now they appear in your other card pool and they mainly have the following effects: placing the card to hand, drawing 1 card, and of course active 1 of your character and giving it plus 3000 BP. And lastly, we have the raid triggers. Now raid is a very strong mechanic in the game that allows you to somewhat evolve your characters into a superior form. I'll go in more detail about what raid is, but raid triggers allow you to place the card to hand, but also allow you to raid during the opponent turn if you have the necessary character and also the energy to do so. And of course lastly, we have the action point cards. You just have action point printed on them. Now we have a better understanding of the cards, so it is time we learn how to set up the game. So first step is to shuffle your deck. Determine between your opponent who shall go first. Next, draw 7 cards from the top of your deck. This is your starting hand. Next, decide whether to mulligan. Now to perform a mulligan, you simply put your starting hand aside and just draw 7 cards from the top of your deck. After mulligan, shuffle the cards you place aside into your deck. And of course, you place the top 7 cards of your deck to your life area after that. Now with that, you are all set up and time to learn the flow of the game. Now, understanding the flow, there are a total of 9 steps or phases to go through. They are as follows: unsuspend phase, AP phase, draw phase, move phase, main phase, attack phase, battle step, life check, and end of attack phase. You go through them one by one. To better visually represent the steps, you depict a scenario that is a few turns ahead. Now, let's talk about unsuspend phase. Now, in the unsuspend phase, you simply unsuspend everything on the field. This includes the front line, energy line, and action point area. Next is your AP phase, also known as the action point phase. It's the phase whereby you flip your AP card up. It's important to take note that both players do not automatically get 3 AP at the start of the game. To help you all better understand, here is a table on how many AP each player gets during their AP phase. The first player will be the first one to reach 3 AP first, but of course it starts with 1 AP at the start of the game, and then subsequently getting 1 AP to 3 AP. Now for the player going second, he does get 2 AP on turn 1 and turn 2. However, do take note that the player going second will get the 3 AP last. Now an important ruling for Union Arena TCG, you can actually use 1 AP during your AP phase to actually draw 1 card from the top of the deck. Do note that you are only allowed to do it once per turn. Next, we move on to the draw phase. Now, pretty straightforward as you just draw 1 from the top of your deck. We move on to the move phase. Now here you can opt to push cards from the energy line up to your front line. By doing so, your front line have characters to attack or block your opponent's incoming attacks. Do note you are unable to push cards from your front line back to the energy line unless you have the skill to do so. We finally move on to the main phase. Now here is where you almost do everything in the game. You play your cards during this phase, you play your cards into the energy of the front line. Do note, however, you can only play cards that you can afford based on the energy you do have. Every card will usually take up AP. Now once you have finished playing your cards, you can actually move on to the attack phase. You can suspend your characters to swing at your opponent's life. Characters are not able to target your opponent's characters in this game unless you have the specific skill to do so. Now upon declaring the attack, your opponent may choose to block the attack. Now to block an attack, your opponent must rest one of their characters in response to the attack. Now this is where we move on to the battle step, where we check the BP of the 2 characters clashing. Now attackers in this game do not die to the blocker. If your attacking character has less BP than the blocker, the attack simply miss and no life will be taken. In this scenario, the attacker has higher BP than the blocker, which will of course kill the blocker. Now let's imagine if there was no blockers to actually block the attack, hence the attack will go through as per normal and will move straight to the life check. During the life check, the attacker can choose which life the opponent will take and check the trigger from. Your opponent will have to take the life and reveal it to both players and activate the trigger, if any, accordingly. Now move on to the end of attack phase. Now at the end of the attack phase, you unsuspend everything on your energy and front line. This allows you to prepare block against your opponent. Rinse and repeat the mentioned phases and congratulations, you have finally learned how to play the game Union Arena. Now to wrap up the tutorial, let's dive in to learn some keywords that are currently in the game at the point of this video. Firstly, we have Step. Now there are cards that allow you to move between front line and energy lines. They are special as they are only allowed to move cards from the energy line to the front line and not vice versa, so this Step ability does allow you to do that. Next we have Snipe, also another crucial skill. They are what allow you to target and attack your opponent character in the front line. You can choose a standing or rested character for Snipe. The power of Snipe also prevents your opponent from blocking the attack character and does not trigger any of the when blocking effect too. Truly a very strong skill. Next we have Attacks times 2. Simply restand this character after declaring attack for the first time. And of course we do also have Block times 2. Restand this character after declaring block for the first time. Next we have a skill that can punish blockers. Now that will be the Impact 1. After winning a battle against opponent character, deal 1 damage to your opponent's life. Now to add more pain, you have Impact plus 1. It's a stackable ability and it also grants the Impact skill if the card don't already have it. Do note that it's different from the previous Impact 1 and the plus is what makes it stackable. If you have another card that grants you the Impact 1 on the card that already has Impact 1, you only deal 1 damage in the end still. The takeaway is that the plus is what makes it stackable. Now to counter the strong Impact skill, we naturally have Impact Negation 2. It simply ignores your opponent's Impact ability, hence no life will be taken. We have Damage times 2 in this game, similar to the double attack in 1P TCG or Security Attack plus 1 in Digimon TCG. However, in Union Arena, it's slightly different as your opponent will have to reveal both of the life at the same time. This means the damage is guaranteed and there's no chance to disrupt the attack. And lastly, we have Raid. Remember how every card you play will be suspended when you place them onto the field? Raid helps you overcome that summoning sickness by evolving on top of your character and activate. You need to have the correct character before you play or rather activate the Raid. In this example we have Panda. We will need Panda to play Raid Panda. I think that's clear enough. Of course, you can also play the card on its own, but there are obviously things you will miss out. Raid stands your character and you may move it to the front line. This means that Raid allows you to evolve on top of your character in the energy line and move it to the front line. If you are unable to raid over a Raid character, just always take note for the Raid text that is in Raid. Raid grants you strong ability but only gives you the ability if you raided. If you take a closer look at the Panda here, you can notice a white box. All these effects will only appear if you raid. Pandas will only gain double block and Impact 1 while gaining 1000 BP when attacking only if it's raided. There's a lot of ability in the card and that's the power of Raid. Remember when I mentioned about Raid Trigger earlier? Raid Trigger can also be used as a sudden blocker against your opponent and they can be caught off guard. There are plenty of strong Raid characters in the game. You can expect different gameplay with different decks in the game. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial and also enjoy Union Arena. Thank you guys for watching till the end. Do consider subscribing, dropping a like and a comment if you guys do enjoy the content.